Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Irresistible and I'm a manifestation and soul alignment coach. My channel is geared towards helping you become your highest potential so that you can create and live the extraordinary life that is your birthright. In today's video, I'll be talking about the true meaning of assuming. But before we get started, just a quick reminder that I offer both email and video coaching. So if you need help in manifesting any of your desires or in releasing any of your blocks, you definitely want to check out all my coaching options. They are in the description below. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon if you'd like to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. So today's video is all about the true meaning of assuming, because a lot of people think that assuming is something you have pre-assumed or presumed before the actual circumstance manifested. But actually, assuming is any story you are choosing in any given moment, regardless of how and why you came to hold that assumption. So last week, I posted a video about how physical reality is a series of snapshots or still frames in every single moment. And there is that perception of movement taking place. Your physical reality is exactly like that, like this flip book that you are now seeing in front of you. Every single page of this flip book represents your state of being or identity in that specific moment. And your identity is always a reflection of two things. In that very moment, it's a reflection of your assumptions as well as your focus and attention in that very moment. Assumptions, if we look at what assumptions are the stories you are choosing to tell. They are also your perceptions of a situation or circumstance, how you are perceiving your 3D. And it's definitely also your judgments of a situation or circumstance. All of these are assumptions. Two people can look at the same exact thing and have very different interpretations or judgments of the circumstance depending on what their inner assumptions are. But yet, even if a circumstance is objectively negative, it is still an outcome. An outcome of what? It's an outcome of your state of being or identity in every single moment. And your identity or state of being is a reflection of your assumptions as well as your focus and attention. So whatever you are experiencing in 3D is always the outcome. The source is within you. You are choosing a story in every moment. One previous client of mine said to me one time, he said, my boss always directs deals to the ladies. He works in real estate and he said, that's what he does. He's like, that's not an assumption. I told him that's an assumption. He's like, that's not an assumption. That is a fact. He said, I heard this from colleagues long before I met him, and it's true. Of course, he still had a choice. He still chose to assume that as well. He could have said, well, if that assumption is not going to work in my favor, I better make a different assumption. I don't care what anyone else says. I still have the power to make my own assumptions. And this actually happened to me a few years ago. I was working on a consulting project and I came in a bit late to the project, so it was already running. And they mentioned that there was a consultant on the project who was extremely difficult. They said she had an attitude problem. They said she was very bossy. They said all kinds of very negative things about her. And I recall, I said, obviously I'm into manifesting. I said, I'm not gonna buy into that. And I decided that that was not going to be my experience. I'm gonna have to work with her. That will not be my experience. And I did not get the same behaviors from her that she was giving to other people. In the end, make the assumptions work for you. You have the opportunity to not buy into any assumption that other people are upholding. And of course, they always stem from you in the end. Even the people who are saying so and so is sending leads to the ladies, well, there is some assumption within you that's creating that to begin with. And you never ever have to go back and search and wonder why you have that. Just choose from this very moment. Here's another example. Last week, I posted a video about how to shift identities. In that video, I spoke about how different identities have different beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and inspired actions and behaviors. So the identity that does not have the desire has very different inner beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions in comparison to the identity that does have their desire. You can consider that every identity has its own subconscious mind. And so depending on which identity you are choosing, you are going to perceive the circumstance very differently. So if you are choosing to hold the identity of a person who is loved, chosen, and pursued, you are much less likely to perceive rejection on a text message left unread with no response for several hours. Why is that? Because you have activated the beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, or you can consider the subconscious mind of the person who is loved, chosen, and pursued. And therefore, you are much less likely to jump to any negative conclusions or assumptions, simply because you have those beliefs, thoughts, and emotions activated. And guess what happens when you choose the identity of the person who is loved, chosen, and pursued? The 3D has no choice but to mirror that back to you. The other person comes back apologizing for not responding sooner due to some circumstance that has absolutely nothing to do with you or with rejection or their feelings for you. But oftentimes, people choose the old identity again because they are using the 3D as their feedback, forgetting that the source is always within them. And so your 3D reality is literally changing based on the identity that you are choosing. You are the source. The 3D is always, always, always the outcome. And most definitely don't keep asking how and why you manifested something. It becomes a vicious and never-ending cycle since you're giving the circumstance a lot of focus and attention. So you end up experiencing more of that. The most important thing is to just choose again and never ever judge yourself for creating something undesirable, because that is also not helpful. When you judge yourself for creating the undesired circumstances, you're indirectly assuming that you are not good at manifesting or that you can't manifest like other people. And you end up creating more of that. So move on and choose again. It's all about conscious awareness of where you're at in every single moment. And then lovingly choosing again and shifting back your state of being or identity to what you prefer to experience, all by redirecting your assumptions and focus and attention. And if you're finding it hard to shift, it's probably you're overly identified with these assumptions. And I show you actually how to pause and reboot. I will link it above. When you do that, you're able then to shift and assume a new identity. So assuming is really what you are choosing in every single moment. It's a reflection of any story you are telling. It's a reflection of how you are perceiving circumstances, and two people can look at the same thing and interpret them very differently. It all depends on what identity you are upholding. Your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions always reflect the identity you're upholding. But even when something is objectively negative, it's always coming from you. It's a reflection of your consciousness, your inner consciousness, your assumptions, and where you're focusing your attention. It's all about being conscious and shifting, and to keep choosing again and again until your 3D shifts and shows you, reflects back your new identity and your new assumptions and the new story that you are telling. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please like, comment, and share, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.